Hello, this is Matthew here of Luminous Beings books and luminousbeings.blog. I am recording this as a response, sort of, to a video I published, the last video I published, and I got some comments from some people, and I felt like most of them were worthy of response, and I hope that doesn't sound arrogant or mean, but just, you know, some comments are trollish and just fighty. How do you say that? Just like aggressive with no, and it seems like you can't reason with the person, and I don't think I got comments like that necessarily. So, I think people are emotional about the Butch Hartman issue, especially I could see longtime fans of his who don't share his beliefs at all and who felt like they were deceived. I can see them being upset. And again, I will reassert that I don't think he deceived anybody. Now, I haven't checked out the Kickstarter video, but I was busy earlier and I had an opportunity to listen to his speech bubble episode because I wanted to hear more context on it, and it was from, I think, like 4 months, no, it was about 1 month ago. I think it was June 18th, and the Kickstarter closed July 18th. I don't know the Kickstarters, if they're typically a month term or if they have longer or if it just depends or what. But anyway, it seems like his Kickstarter was about a month term. And in the episode of him discussing Oaxis with the Jace, his podcasting partner, and I think he helps him with a bunch of other stuff, it seems like, anyway. The thing that I picked up on was, like, I wanted to listen to what his intentions are talking about Oaxis and what it's going to be, and that's why I listened to it, because I thought, these people really felt deceived, that were, commenting, and I wanted to garner more perspective on it. And besides, I was busy and I wanted to listen to, and I thought, well, this will be interesting. It's topical right now. So I listened to it, and at the end of the episode, which was about 45 minutes long, he talks about acquiring some material for streaming rights for Oaxis to start it off, just to kind of seed it as he's creating a bunch of content that'll go on there, and then other people do. And he said, like, phase one, it'll be funded, it'll show investors, once we reach the $250,000, it'll show investors that I've got support and this could be a thing, and then they'll invest their own capital in it and put money behind it and, look to make money. And, that was the purpose for the Kickstarter. And he went on to say that, of course, things like Danny Phantom, if he could get the rights to it, he'd put on there, Fairly Odd Parents, that kind of thing. Those are all positive and clean and whatever. He mentioned a couple things. One of the things that's sticking out in my mind the most that he mentioned that he'd like to acquire rights to, or to that or something like it, was The Greatest Showman. I previously done an episode on The Greatest Showman, and on I'm surprised that that's something he would pick, especially because if this is a Christian network, as people claim, I know a lot of Christians who enjoyed The Greatest Showman, but I was a little surprised that so many Christians enjoyed The Greatest Showman. I'm also surprised that many Christians enjoy the movie Grease, because Grease has a lot of references to adult material, let's say, and there's like the mooning that happens, and there's a bunch of stuff in Grease that I'm really surprised that people would like. And I think that while The Greatest Showman doesn't have anything offensive like the mooning, there are scantily clad women, I would say, as part of the freak show, the PT or the Barnum, anyway, it's P.T. Barnum's thing. Like, the movie is very untruthful, and I don't want this to turn into another video about The Greatest Showman, but if you aren't a Christian and don't like Christians or what they believe in, and you see Greatest Showman, and you've seen Greatest Showman, I think you might be surprised to know that a Christian is raving about how good and family-friendly The Greatest Showman was. I mean, there was fighting, there was drinking, there was kids disobeying their parents and like having a secret romance on the side. Like, the things that are in Greatest Showman, if Greatest Showman is not the rubric, but like if it's an example, a very strong example of what Butch Hartman likes and sees as family-friendly programming, I don't think you should be worried about Oaxis being a Christian network, or maybe it is a quote-unquote Christian network, but it's one that will fail to deliver its message. I think religiously I'm more of an extremist than Hartman is, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just like very serious, and I'm not saying he's not serious about his faith, but I think the things that I believe in, like the denomination I guess you could squeeze me into if you had to, is probably more structured and more like rule-oriented than maybe what Hartman believes. And again, I don't know specifically what he believes, but he seems like he's a non-denominational Californian Christian, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said before, I want people to believe in God. I want people, if they don't believe in God, to believe in humanity and to be good to each other, and that's the baseline. But, I mean, one could argue that that's kind of a low baseline, but there are lots of places where people aren't good to each other and don't believe in humanity, and they do lots of terrible things. Anyway, I don't want to get too far afield, but so you might still want to argue, commenters, some of you commenters, and I'm going to drop this in the comments, so you should be getting this. You might still want to argue that I honestly do not see the deception. I think he was being coy a little bit, but he also mentioned his faith, mentioned his Christianity, mentioned family-friendly and like exclusively family-friendly, and I think, you know, he even dropped or said that things would be G-rated in the podcast, and I don't know if you're going to have an LGBT thing necessarily in a G-rated show, because people who want stuff to be G-rated might not say that works in there, and I don't know how much of the anger from people is coming from that, but I know one of the complaints that people had is that Hartman would be using this Christian network, which again it's not, it's a network made by a Christian and with material approved by a Christian on it, and this Christian approves of The Greatest Showman, which I don't think is an immoral or bad movie. I pointed out some of the things in it that don't really square to me with like a fundamentalist Christian. They just don't, guys and gals and people of all persuasions. Like, just think about The Greatest Showman and how offensive you might find that as an atheist or as someone in a marginalized community or whatever. Like, I don't see it. You know, it's meant to be kind of milquetoast and inoffensive, and I think it is for the most part. So, and this is, you know, one of the things that this guy's holding up, that he wants to see this kind of stuff on his network. Anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but like, I was going to say, I think this could be a Christian network, or a network run by a Christian that fails to like win people to Christ by the programming it has on it. I mean, I don't even know what the efficacy or what the success rate of something like that would be. And like, again, speaking as a creator of a universe of stuff, I myself, the reason I, you know, call my characters Luminous Beings, or my stuff would be the Tales of Luminous Beings, is because I want all of them to be heroic and something to aspire to, or live out morals that are something to aspire to, you know, humanist morals that are base good, because I don't like the stuff that isn't base good and like the dark anti-heroes and stuff, because I don't feel like it's super helpful. And you know, this guy's just saying he wants something that keeps out certain, like he's going to be gatekeeping on his network that he's making because he's a Christian, and the gatekeeping is going to be based on his morals as a Christian, and I don't really see anything wrong with that. Anyway, I got interrupted with a phone call. I lost my train of thought. I'm pretty much going to have to go, but I'm just saying, like, one, I don't see the deception. I'm really sorry. I listened to the pitch on the podcast. I thought about how he framed it there, and I thought back to how he framed it in the Kickstarter video. I didn't check out the Kickstarter video myself, but it didn't feel, I don't think it was deceptive. I honestly, and I'm not playing mind games or trying to support somebody I'm a fan of, because again, I'm not really a fan of his. I enjoy some of his YouTube content, but other than that, like, I'm not a fan. Like, I've barely seen any of his stuff, and I dislike Fairly Odd Parents. So anyway, I don't really know what else to say other than for the commenters, I really hope you listen to this or check this out. I wanted to be respectful of the fact that you took the time to give input, but I wanted to do it in a video because doing multiple messages to people, it just didn't seem like the best use of my time, and I feel like I was able to do this and address some of your concerns and kind of reflect on what your input was to me in this video, and I could kind of address everybody broadly, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, I guess that's all for now. Take care of yourselves, be well, and yeah, that's it. Maybe I'll have another one of these if I get more response. Anyway, be cool, everybody.